So another question that we hear a lot is around the chief of staff's role in culture, driving organizational values. How much time, in your opinion and from your experience, should the chief of staff really be dedicating to driving those core values inside the organization? And how should they be doing that?
Um, if I'm hearing the question correctly, my sense is they have to be hyper aware of what those are. But ultimately, those are things that, in my experience, come from the senior leadership, like the CEO, the other C-suite members. Like they have to be communicating those down and in. And I think the role of the chief of staff, first and foremost, is to look under the hood or look out over the next ridgeline, however you want to consider it, and make the executives aware that I know we're talking about this as a core value and focus, but I think we're at risk in this area, in the way these sorts of deals are stacking up, or in the coordination between these two business units, or the way some of our clients or end users would interpret our position on this sort of thing. You're trying to get your chief to be able to map what you as executives are trying to put into the organization as an ethos and standards, be hyper aware of that, but look for where it's working well and where it might not be taking, or where it's getting off heading, and then bringing that back up to the right folks in the organization so they get ahead of it.
Yeah, Chris, that's really similar to what I see as well. I think one of the most privileged things about having a chief of staff or being a chief of staff is that you have access to the most senior people in the organization, but really good chiefs still have access, connections, and should have access and connections to folks lower in the organization. So to your point about kind of lifting up the hood of the car to see what's really going on, that's something that I think chiefs really have to pay attention to. I hear you say it a lot. When you moved into a chief of staff role or equivalent aide to camp role, you couldn't just forget about where you came from, because otherwise you're just going to totally burn those bridges. And I see that a lot with chiefs. And it's a tough dynamic to play, for sure. There's power dynamic. There's, all sorts of hierarchical things inside organizations. And as a chief, you've really got to manage up and down.